Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the 4Ps podcast. Let me go back. All right. The book right behind me, The 4Ps of You, the podcast, The 4Ps of You. Everything started from a conversation I had with a group of former inmates at Edinburgh Correctional Facility. Then it morphed into so much more. I tell the story a lot. It's in the book. Please buy the book, but I'm going to tell you because the rest of the book is really good. But this is the story. This is what started it. I was teaching a class, and in the class that I was teaching, I asked these individuals. I said, "Hey, what are you going to do when you get out of prison?" Some of these people that were in there were in prison for years, decades even. And they said, "Hey, I'm going to go to Chick-fil-A. I'm going to do this. Can't wait to see my girlfriend. Can't wait to do this. Can't wait to do that. Blah, 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 blah." All these things. And I let them say what they had to say. And then I said, "Okay, what are you really going to do when you get out of prison?" And they were silent. They didn't know. They really didn't know they're going to get out. There's a scene in the book in the book. There's a scene in the movie Trading Places, and it's a great movie. Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd. It's a Christmas movie, whatever you want to call it. It is a phenomenal movie where there's a scientific experiment done by two rich men, and they switch the roles of Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. Eddie Murphy starts out as a homeless man, and then what happens is literally the roles, through manipulation, the roles get switched. Anyway, there's a scene where Eddie Murphy gets out of prison or out of jail. And when he gets out of jail, he walks down the steps of the courthouse and he stops and he looks one way, he looks the other, and he has nowhere to go. And it was supposed to be funny, and it is for the scene, but it's really not funny because there's a lot of people right now, even as you're listening to this podcast, there are a lot of people that step out of a prison, step out of a jail, and they do exactly what Eddie Murphy did. Exactly what Eddie Murphy did. And so there is a group called New Leaf, New Life, and they're out of Bloomington, Indiana. I have two people, Heather Bland and Misty James, who are going to tell us a little bit about the program. Right now, we do have we are partnering with them, and the book, Stories of Transgression and Recovery, please make sure you buy the book. But if you go on their website, New Leaf, New Life website, again, they're out of Bloomington, Indiana. You go on their website, you buy the book from their website. $2 from every sale of the book goes directly to help them in their mission. And they do a lot of things to help former incarcerated individuals get on their feet and do that, so they don't have to do the Eddie Murphy walk and look to the left and look to the right and have no idea where they're going. When we come back, we are going to have Misty James and Heather Bland. We'll be right back right after this.
From the pain of losing a child to the courage of veterans finding new purpose. From the grief of friends and family gone too soon to the redemption of those who've fallen and risen again. Each story reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there is light. Even in heartbreak, there is healing. Even in loss, there is love, because these are stories of loss. Stories of struggle, stories of hope.
Welcome back to the 4Ps podcast. I talk about this often. As a matter of fact, what actually started my 4Ps journey was actually teaching inmates at Edinburgh Correctional Facility in Indiana a very long time ago. There is something to help. Let me put it this way. We need to help those getting out of prison so they don't go back. And we need to provide as many resources as possible. And I always say, we need to do something. We need to do something. Well, and I try to do what I have to do, but there is a group in Bloomington, Indiana that is doing just that. It's New Leaf, New Life. Again, they're out of Bloomington, Indiana. We have two of their workers that work there. I don't know if volunteers, workers, directors, but we do have Misty James, and we also have Heather Bland. Welcome to the program. And again, clarify, are you workers, volunteers? What do you guys do for the program?
So I'll start. My name is Misty James. I am actually the assistant director of New Leaf New Life, and I have been involved with New Leaf New Life since 2020.
My name's Heather Bland, and I am a Reentry Case Manager. So I work and do direct services with people who are coming from incarceration. Also coordinate things with them while they are still involved in the jail system.
Wow. So you are a reentry coordinator. What are some of the things that you do to get people ready to get out into this world again?
So we have reentry classes in the correctional center. We also get letters from people who are incarcerated that are seeking treatment. We set up appointments for them when they come out. We provide them with clothing, hygiene items, give them referrals to go and get a job. We provide bus tickets. We provide peer recovery support. Because we both have lived experience, we can relate with people on a level that kind of harbors a lot of trust. And so we just create those relationships, and then we encourage them along their journey, keep in touch with them, and help connect them with whatever resources we can along the way.
That is fantastic. Misty, you've been doing this since 2020. Tell me some of
Yes.
your, like, I want to know, I mean, there are obviously tons of success stories.
Sure.
Tell me give me one of the best success stories you have.
Well, you know, I had a client who is what the system would consider a multi offender. So,
Okay.
or what the jail system calls the frequent flyers. That's what they call the folks who are incarcerated. And he was literally, just shut off from all other resources and things. And I was able to get him. I mean, he had lost the ability to see his children. He had lost all of his basically hope and everything outside of that. And I started to write to him while he was in prison. And he had been incarcerated for a number of years. And he's like, I don't know how to acclimate back into society. And it started with a letter, with me just writing him a letter and being like, I appreciate you. I believe in you. You can do this. And giving some relatability to the story. And to his story is that I too have been incarcerated. And letting him know that, incarceration doesn't disappear society's problems. It disappears people. Mm-hmm. It disappears people. It takes people away from the ability to succeed. So I worked with him to get him placement after incarceration. And I worked with him for probably about 2 years after that. And I still keep in touch with him today. Now he currently works in a treatment facility himself. He has not reoffended after 2 decades worth of recidivism rate. He has custody of his children. He is just doing phenomenal things. And sometimes he'll come by and be like, can I do something to help you or do whatever? But this is a person that society, the court system says that this guy is likely to spend the rest of his life in jail or prison. And they were completely wrong. Like there's no way to gauge whether a person is going to be successful or not. I do know that helping them with stability, I mean, it's basically, for me, like being incarcerated. I'm a heroin addict. I've been clean for almost 7 years. I
Beautiful.
was in and out of the, thanks. I was in and out of the criminal justice system or criminal system. I don't know if justice is the proper word, but our criminal system. And I just couldn't. I couldn't. They would put me on probation. I was an unhoused community member. It was unrealistic expectations to put on someone who doesn't even have a home or a water source to make it to all these requirements, appointments, all the things, right?
Right.
So eventually, I was offered a treatment option that saved my life, and I had agency in it. Right, I was allowed to decide what treatment center I wanted to go to, and it worked out in the end for me. But yeah, I would say not counting people out is a huge part of what we do.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is there's a lot of times where, I believe in justice. I absolutely believe in justice. I believe that if you break the law, that, there are consequences to that. And I absolutely believe that. I believe that 1000%. But I also think that once you've served your time, we have a tendency to add additional time through just utter, like, you cannot function through this. I mean, people without criminal records and people who have jobs and things like that all the time struggle to make it in this world. So now we're going to take somebody who's been in prison for 2 years, 3 years, even 3 months. You've lost everything. There's very hard for you to build up. And then you are trying to find a job. You're trying to find a place to live. You're trying to find clothes. You're trying to find this. And God knows what happens to your assets when you're away, because someone else has your assets. You are away from your assets. You can't even care for your assets. And then at that point, what happens? Now you walk out and you're destitute, destitute, destitute. So there's two things that can happen. Either they find wonderful people like you, okay? Or they do what they have to do to survive, and most of the time that is not the thing that they should be doing, but they feel like they're left with no other choice but to do it. And this goes back to you, Heather. You are that reentry person. How do you bring someone back into society and get them reacclimated, and when they leave that gate, how do you get them to the point to where they are like, okay, I'm ready to go? What are some of the things that you do with that?
The first thing that I do is I ask them what they want to do. For so long, people have said, so this is the plan. You have to do this, 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 and this in order to succeed. And if the plan doesn't go according to the way that it's worked for someone else, the person feels like a failure. And I know that through lived experience for myself. So many times there was this plan set up for me, but it wasn't the right fit. So asking someone, what is it that you want to do? What is it that interests you? And how are we going to get there? What do you need to succeed, and how can we support you? I think the coolest thing is that we do have lived experience. We do have a history of incarceration and substance use, but we also have lived experience of recovery. We also have hope. And it was because someone came alongside of us and they asked us the questions, what do you want to do and how can we support you? So I think that's just how we start. We start with putting the ball in their court. These are your decisions and we'll help you get there. And when you reach a barrier, we're going to be there to support you. But making them excited about it, giving them opportunity to have, the sweat equity in their future. We're going to help you, but let's see what you can do. And then we'll come alongside you. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think that kind of sets us apart from other people that are doing this, is there's no guilt, there's no shame, there's no pushing. There's just a lot of love, encouragement, hope, and support.
Wow. I have to say something. What you just said, it touches something. And I remember I just said in the beginning of this that this started my 4Ps journey. Um, I'm going to tell you why I wrote the book, The 4Ps of You. One of them is, like, I've always wanted to write a book. So, okay, let's get that out of the way. But the other reason why I wrote The 4Ps of You, it was because I was teaching at Edinburgh Correctional Facility. Okay? So I'm teaching at Edinburgh Correctional Facility. It was the very first 20 minutes of class. Okay. It literally made me change class just like that because I was like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm teaching somebody like everybody else has taught them in the past. Let me do it a little different. So what happened was this. First thing I said was, all right, listen, you guys are within 6 months of getting out of prison. What do you want to do? My mind was, do you want to, live here? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Right? That's what I was asking. I was asking, what do you want to do? Here's what they said. I want to go to Chick-fil-A. I want to go hang out with my girlfriend. I cleaned that up big time. I want to do, I really cleaned that up. I want to do this. I want to do that. I can't wait to see my kid. I can't wait to, go to the bathroom without somebody looking at me. All of those things, right? And then I was like, oh, that's all great. That was all great. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, what do you want to do? And I'm going to tell you right now, when I said that, there were 15 people in that class. And I'm going to tell you, it was dead silent. Dead silent. No one had an answer. And I said to them right then and there, we've got a problem. And I'm not saying we've got a problem to scare you. I'm saying this because it is the truth. If you do not know what you want to do, guaranteed I'll be teaching this class again next year, and you will be back in this class again. And so we went from there, and it's great that even now in our society, when they get out, they say, okay, we've got this job for you. We've got this place for you to live. We got this right now. Here's your paperwork. Get the hell out of my face. And I love what you just said, Heather, about the first thing you do is you ask them, what do they want? And by giving them, and I'm going to tell you, the class, when I went from this is what I'm teaching to this is what I need to give you in order for you to get what you want, the class participation changed, everybody changed, because just like what you said, Heather, they now have ownership in the future of their life, and that is fantastic. One of the problems, and I'm gonna transfer a little bit. One of the major problems is housing. You are in prison and getting out of prison. This is one thing that I do see a lot. How do you guys work with that in the Bloomington area?
So I put boots on the ground, and I'm like, I build relationships with landlords, not big corporation real estate companies, personal individual landlords without policies and procedures. And I build relationships. I built relationships with them slowly over time. And I have landlords that I can utilize when people are ready for independent living. I have good relationships with all of the sober living folks in Bloomington. And not only do I have good relationships with them, but I know the ins and outs of their program. And I know what personality types would be best referred to different spots.
Okay.
I spend a lot of time advocating in the community for, because you got to realize I'm a 6-time felon, theft and drugs. It's a hard sell, right? It's a hard sell when I need housing. But what they don't know is that I'm an advocate. I'm a community partner with tons of resources, that my credit score is 769. The only thing that they see is that I have all this history. And I'm like, when I go speak to a landlord, I'm like, well, would you rent to me? Well, of course, Misty. Of course I would. I am no different than the folks I'm referring you to. Right. We have a lot of mitigation with the landlords. Like, okay, if one of the clients is there and I have one particular landlord I work with that is like, hey, this guy you referred me to is starting to get behind on his rent. I'm like, well, let me touch base with Guy and find out what's going on in his life, because he's been sustainable there for 6 months. You know what I mean? So like, that's how we maneuver the housing. It's literally boots on the ground. Like, I will continue to case manage this client while he's in your housing situation. I will continue to advocate and help him.
We also have
Please
strong
go ahead.
partnerships that help with the financial aspect of things. We have lots of financial resources. So when we are able to refer people to these landlords, that they take a chance on these people, and the participant or the mentee falls on hard times, we can connect them with financial resources that help them continue to have a good rental history. And so that's collaborative, that's collaborative relationships that now landlords are helping people establish rental history, but we can make sure that they're still getting their money. It's really become a community collaboration to help the people sustain housing.
Excellent. And the other question I want to ask you is this, most of the people who are incarcerated, I'm going to say most now, we've had a war on drugs. Obviously, that war on drugs, we're losing. I think that our approach needs to be fixed big time. With that being said, how is everything going as far as the how do you keep people on track and stop them from going back to addiction or recovering from addiction, I should say?
Yeah, so we are at all pathways. That's it's just like anything else. Like, what do you want to do? What is not all pathway is specific to each person, right? Some folks may need MAT. Some folks use faith to recover from addiction. Some folks use NAAA. Personally, I am a Narcotics Anonymous user. However, when I meet with my clients, I merely suggest options. I do not favor one or the other. So again, it's that advocacy and agency. People are like, man, I hate NA meetings. I'm like, me too sometimes. I get it. You know what
They
I
suck,
mean?
yeah.
I do. Yeah, I do. And I work one guy might come in and he's about that AA NA life, and the other person say, I'm very uncomfortable in NA. Is there other options for me? And in fact, there are. And fortunately, with the addiction aspect of it, it is so hard not to want to medicate suffering. Self-medicate suffering and pain, right? One of the biggest impacts I think I have, or that is impactful on me, is when I get someone off to treatment and they say, can I use you as an emergency contact because I have nobody else? And then me take those phone calls at 7 or 8 o'clock at night from that client who's in treatment just so they can have somebody to talk to. The guys who I write to in jail that said, I knew the letter I got today was from you because you're the only one that writes me. Guys that spend years and years in prison that have no one that write them at all but me. And we handwrite all of our letters, right? So that's another impactful thing, is that a person wrote that. This isn't a flyer that we send in. This is a human being that cares about you. But yeah, substance use is definitely a difficult one, right? But it's that agency. It's still the agency. What do you want to do? How do you want to manage your substance use? What is the most beneficial way to you?
Absolutely.
Well, the other part is, the opposite of addiction is connection. And so creating those connections with people and reinforcing that. Sometimes people have a reoccurrence of symptoms in their substance use. And so it's like, you know what? I'm still here for you. And I'm still going to check in with you. Where do you think it went wrong? Not, you went back to that guy, or you went back to that girl, or you spent money on, shoes instead of paying your rent. Not jumping the gun on them, but saying, where do you think it went wrong and how can we support you? If that's not working for you, then how can we figure out something that's gonna work for you? We're not gonna give up on you. Someone told me at one point in time, if you're not finding the culture in recovery that's working for you, you need to create the culture you want to be a part of. So encouraging people to do that. And through that, there have been more 12-step meetings, several years ago, within the last decade, there was only AA and NA in Bloomington. Now there's HA, there's Crystal Meth Anonymous, there's all sorts of different things that make people feel like they belong. And so it's encouraging people to create the culture they want to be a part of in their recovery and establish those connections, but then on our part, maintain them, show up
Absolutely.
for people.
You guys are fantastic. I will say that we will be there, and I'm going to say we. There are some people that are involved. I know that Chastity Mater, Ryan Mater, great individuals, friend of mine. A matter of fact, a friend of mine that I met while he was incarcerated. He was one of my students at one time, and now he is a dear friend. I think I talked to him more than I talked to my own mother. But anyway, nothing I can do about that. He is a great guy. I love the guy. I love him very much.
Absolutely.
We are going to be in Bloomington for New Leaf, New Life. We are going to be there on the 2nd of January, and we're going to be there to raise funds for this fantastic organization. We'll be selling the book, Stories of Transgression and Recovery, and money from that will go towards that. We also ask that you donate. There will be a link that will be provided here in the next couple of weeks. It will be in the podcast notes. I should say it this way. It will be in the podcast notes. So we want you to register. We want you to donate. We want you to give. We want to make sure that people who are incarcerated and who are getting out, they absolutely get that new leaf. You know, they've served their time. They've done what they had to do. Now let them come out and contribute to this society and make society better. Because I'm going to tell you, those who come out and they know they got another shot at life and they've got another chance, they are not going to do anything in the world to violate that second chance. And people like Misty, people like Heather, they are here to make sure that they are going to stay on track so they don't violate that chance. Misty, Heather, thank you so much for being on this program.
Thank you.
We will be right back right after this.
The 4 Ps of You, Expanded Edition by Trunnis Goggins, is a powerful guide to personal growth built on 4 foundational principles: purpose, planning, passion, and persistence. In this expanded edition, Goggins shares real stories of trials and tribulations, his own and those of others, to inspire readers to reflect, reset, and rise. With added insights and practical exercises, this book empowers you to navigate life's challenges, unlock your potential, and live with greater intention and impact. The 4 Ps of You is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and worldwide wherever books are sold.
Hello and welcome back to this final, I always say final edition. And I know a lot of people probably say, I wish it was the final edition, but this is the final segment of the 4 Ps podcast. In this, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to what Misty and Heather had to say. What I admire about both of them is they are 2 individuals who, they don't just do it. They lived it. They were there. They were incarcerated. They did change their life, and now they're helping other people. They know exactly what someone is experiencing walking out of prison, and they make sure they do everything they can to make sure they remove as many barriers as possible to make sure that these individuals who get out of prison have a way to go. And that is a great thing. I'm going to tell you, one of the worst things about our criminal justice system is that I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. There are people that get out of prison, and we put so many extra barriers on them when they get out of prison that they end up going back to prison. It's a horrible cycle, and it's awful. It's an awful cycle that they are doing, and I'm going to tell you, I have to say, and I'm not trying to get conspiracy theory tinfoil hat, but I mean, the people who come up with these rules have to know that they are creating a system of repeat offenders. They're creating a system of return customers. They're doing all that stuff. They're just doing it. You're going to get out. You're not going to have anything to prepare these people for getting out of prison. The transition is not even a transition. It's immediate. Your time is up. Get the hell out of my jail. And so as a result, they're like, okay, I'm out. What am I going to do? and it has to be fixed. At least in the United States, it has to be fixed. I don't know what goes on in other countries. I hope they have a better transition system. I haven't read about it. That's why. So, if they do, and anybody who's out there listening from anywhere in the world, I know we have 15 countries listening. Last week was 15 countries listening to the last week's podcast. I need more because there's like 170 some odd nations. So please listen to the podcast. But yeah, if you guys have a different system, tell us, and maybe we can work the system here as well. As you could see, I have green and black on today, and I'm sure you've seen this. Right now, here you go. A couple of weeks ago, I had an individual on the program. Her name was Amanda Sellers, is Amanda Sellers. She's, not was. She's a good friend of mine out of Saskatchewan. We were talking about the Saskatchewan Roughriders during that podcast. I told her that I'm a fan of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. This is one of my favorite sweaters. Today, I am celebrating the Grey Cup victory of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, and I'm sure Amanda is celebrating as well. Great team. They were just fantastic. I watched the game last night. I have no idea what took them so long to get started. The United States was not, but I know there was some kind of delay. I have no idea what that delay was, but it was a great game. Got really, really interesting in the end. The final score was, I think it was 25-17. And the Montreal Alouettes, the team that the Rough Riders played against, they were literally at the 1 yard line, and they were getting ready to drive in and score a touchdown, and they fumbled the football. And Saskatchewan recovered it at the goal line. And that was it. I was really enthralled. Any championship game that ends that way, I do feel sorry for the person. I really do. I feel bad for the person who fumbled the football. I do know that they probably lost a lot of sleep over that, and I understand that. But I will say any game that ends like that, any game that has that much excitement and is a good, especially a championship game. That was the last game of the season. I'm going to tell you, if you are in the United States of America and you do not watch CFL football, number one, you can get it on CBS Sports. If you have, it's free. It really is. And it's some good stuff. And whatever you can't see on CBS Sports on the app, CFL Plus, you can watch the games on there. Again, fantastic game. It was phenomenal. I really enjoyed watching it. It was a great season. Again, and those players in the CFL are hungry. It's a great sport to watch. And you know what? It is a cheap ticket. It really is. It's a cheap ticket. You should be going to that game as well. Again, going back to business now, make sure if you go on the New Life website, you can get the book Stories of Transgression and Recovery. Buy this book online, and like I said, on their website, and then they can get $2 from every single sale of the book if you buy it on their website. We will be talking to you next week. Next week, we have 2 young ladies that are on our show and they're 14 and 12, and they are now internationally published authors. You are going to love their story. They are probably 2 of the sweetest kids you'll ever meet. I shouldn't say sweet. They're sweet young ladies. They're sweet people, and you're going to really enjoy it. They're out of Australia, out of Sydney, and I know I always talk about me having a lot of kids. One of them actually made me like, whoa, wow, that's a lot of kids. So we will talk to you next week. Again, thank you for everything. Don't forget to go to the New Leaf website and pick up that book. It's Stories of Transgression and Recovery. It's a great book anyway. You should be buying it. It is a great book. A lot of great stories. A lot of stories. It's 8 people they were resilient. They were extremely resilient, and they're in a better place today because they made better decisions. They really did. So thank you so much. We'll be right back next week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.